This podcast is rated S for spoilers. Listener discretion is advised. Don't forget to view our spoiler-free companion video on our Half Past Podcast channel on YouTube. Welcome to the Half Past Podcast. This is episode 57, the movie review of Logan. We will also be discussing the Kong Skull Island trailer. I'm Graham Rixon. Here with me is my hominid friend, Ian Jones.
Well, you're looking real good there, buddy.
Yeah?
Clean shaven. For those of you who don't know, Graham is a very good looking black man.
Right,
He just shaved his beard off. And he's looking pretty good.
You know, my girl does not like it at all.
Oh. Wow.
She loves my beard, and so I shaved it off this past weekend, and it's starting to grow back a little bit. So I'm a little right. Scruffy, just a little bit, but it's just like...
Well, she probably doesn't want other women smiling at you.
Oh man, It's such a funny thing. It's just like, I remember when I did it. Like, her reaction was pretty priceless. She was just like, what did you do?
You've got the wrong home, sir.
Oh, it's terrible. Oh man, how have you been, huh?
Pretty good.
Just okay? Yeah. Did you get this?
I said pretty good.
Oh, nice.
Not just okay. I didn't say okay. Fine. I'm good. This is the part that everyone wants to hear.
I know, right?
Oh, God. Well, I'm getting fatter and I'm losing more hair. If I'm being honest.
Well, I know that feeling, man. That's what happens when you hit the 30 club, you know?
Speaking of 30, here's something that's a little bit more movie relevant.
Okay.
I was reading about Hugh Jackman and his training regimen. I don't know if you've read about it for Wolverine.
No, but it's got to be extensive.
It is, yeah. And he still regrets the first movie, how he looked in the first movie. He called those shots embarrassing.
Well, wait a minute, which one?
The very first one.
Like X1?
Yeah.
It's the one where when you look at like the difference between, you put X1 up and then you put like from X-Men Origins or even the Wolverine, and you're just like, he looks like the Pillsbury Doughboy. By comparison, he's still in great shape in that first movie, but like the difference is so shocking because he's just like super cut in the other two movies. It's so crazy.
Right, yeah. Well, even in the difference between that and the sequel.
Yeah, X2.
X2. And so part of the reason was the background is, and it's amazing to think that it's been like 16 years or whatever of these movies.
Yeah, it's been a while.
He wasn't originally cast to be Wolverine, and I should have gone back to write down that actor's name, but what a moron! It was the bad guy from Mission Impossible 2.
Oh,
and boy, how different his career would have been.
Oh, yeah.
But they definitely got the right guy in there. He couldn't do it because of that silly John Woo kicking impossible that they did. And so we got Hugh Jackman. But Hugh didn't have long to prep and only spent 3 weeks. Now he spends something like 3 months. And he starts 3 months out drinking about 3 times more water than you should. So that means he's pissing all the time. Yeah. Sorry. He's urinating all the time. And then, right before these shirtless scenes, he just stops drinking water.
Yes,
for 3 days.
Yes, all the guys do that before they film the shirtless scenes. In order for them to look that cut, they have to dehydrate themselves. So they almost go through a weight cut regimen similar to before a UFC fight or any other like boxing match or anything like that. They go through that process before they film those scenes. And that happens across the board with all of these guys. So it's like not just Hugh Jackman, but even just Henry Cavill had to do it. And, it's just like how it is. It's a part of the process.
I mean, it's a dangerous thing. I mean, 3 days without water, I mean, that's really dangerous.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
So I just thought I would bring that. No point in particular, other than the fact that, he's in his 50s.
I think is it late 40s? Or is it 50s? Is he that old?
Oh, let me see here.
I could have sworn he was like in his late 40s. While you're looking that up, I'll say another story about Hugh Jackman. So, what I was reading an interview with Hugh Jackman, and they were talking about this same subject, about the shirtless scenes and everything. And it was an interview where they also asked his wife how she feels about him doing all these different roles and everything. And she must be a really cool woman, because her response was, well, it's pretty awesome because I feel like I get to have an affair every 6 months.
Oh my God. Yeah, that's great.
Because he's doing all these different roles, and so she's essentially just sleeping with a different guy.
So he is 48.
I figured it was late 40s.
His last Wolverine movie. The last time he's going to have to worry about bulking up.
Yep, that'll be his last one. Man, we are 48. Like 6 minutes in, and we haven't even talked about Kong Skull Island yet.
Okay, let's talk about Kong Skull Island.
Well, this conversation's been far more interesting than what I have to say about this.
Sure,
anyway,
yeah.
because
I'm sure it was. I'm sure it is.
The thing is like, the first, really the only thing I want to say about Kong Skull Island is how, really strange this cast is. Does the cast seem really weird to you?
It does.
It's like Samuel L. Jackson and, Tom Hiddleston and, Captain Marvel is in there, and then you got John C. Reilly. It's like, where are you getting
John C. Reilly, to me, is the thing that throws it off. Yeah.
And he's like this weird character. He's definitely the comic relief. Yeah, it's such a weird thing for him to do.
Especially since what they're setting up is Godzilla versus King Kong.
Yes.
So they made King Kong much, much larger.
Yes,
so that he can fight Godzilla in a movie.
Yes.
So that totally though, I don't know. It's weird. It doesn't match. It isn't like the last Godzilla movie or even the last King Kong movie. I mean, these are really very different takes on doing this, and it almost looks. I mean, the effects just don't look very good to me.
Yeah, they seem like okay, just not there's nothing shocking in the visuals. Nothing visually impressive. But
I mean, just the shot through the helicopter, I thought, was really bad. I mean, I was having nightmares of Samuel L. Jackson running through the forest or running through the jungle with Tarzan.
With Tarzan,
oh man,
which because of how this movie is, what do you think the chances that Samuel L. Jackson dies in this movie?
Oh, they're always good. It's got to be 50% if you look at all the movies he's been in.
He's been in a lot of movies, and he's died in a lot of movies. And I don't know, being stuck on an island with creatures that shouldn't exist.
Right. We had the count at some point.
We did.
It was something like 23 movies.
Yeah, something like that.
And it's more. I mean, we did that little video 2 years ago.
Yeah, we did. So it's been pretty interesting. I mean, the only thing I have to say about Kong Skull Island is at the very least it looks like it's going to be a fun kind of popcorn munching type movie. I don't really expect much from it, but it'll probably be entertaining. And that's all I have.
Right. I think that the cast is probably better than what the final movie is going to be.
Right.
It's just tough because I don't know if it's just a bad version of the trailer. I mean, I don't know. So I guess we'll see. It's definitely up our alley though with the visual effects.
Yeah, it'll be fun to watch. at the very least.
Any other interesting movies coming out, or?
Well, you know, we've been so busy lately that we missed Lego Batman. Which
we did. That's on me. Though,
did you see? Did you end up seeing it?
No, I have not. I really wanted to see it, and
that's crazy. It's funny that you know, it's funny that you didn't see that one. It was actually it was an interesting movie. I definitely want to get your opinion on it eventually, but I freaking I went to go see it with my girl, and I was thinking about doing that one with her, and just because you were just busy and everything, but we kind of missed the boat on that one. So I'm probably gonna do. I think I'm gonna do Beauty and the Beast with her. We'll have to see what happens. That would be interesting, right?
You know, I mean, so Beauty and the Beast. I mean, it's making some headlines because it's got Disney's first openly gay character, which is actually not true because we've already had Poe Dameron, and Poe Dameron is gay. He is.
Okay.
He's a gay character. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying, it's fine. Oscar Isaac is awesome.
I can't,
that is a gay character. And it will come out in December. It's gonna happen in December.
You know what?
I'm calling it right now. They've already said the first gay character will be announced in this coming movie, and they've already done him. It's definitely him.
You, sir, it's so funny that you say that because my girl Jackie, she swears he's gay.
He is.
She's just there's so many sequences where it just seems like he's really attracted to Finn, and it's just
he's really attracted to Finn. That is, for those of you who don't know, that is called Storm Pilot, everyone. That is the ship that supports the idea that Finn and Poe are going to hook up at some point.
That's fantastic. I think that's just so funny because there's nothing if you don't really pay attention to any of the signs, it's just whatever. But then when you go back and you're just well, I can see how it could go that way. Right?
Right.
So it's kind of an interesting thing. We'll have to see what happens with that. Oh man. God, Beauty and the Beast, am I the only one that feels like Beauty and the Beast looks like it's almost shot for shot? There's so many.
It is
things.
Shot for shot. That's why I don't want to go and see it. Yeah. So I will go and see it.
That's fine. But that's why I wanted to do the recording with my girlfriend cast. We'll see what happens.
All right. Well, whatever. I guess I don't have. I would go and see it if they would stick the damn Star Wars trailer.
Nice.
In front of it, but they're going to make us wait until April.
Yeah, they're going to make you wait.
Which is the problem with hiring Christopher McQuarrie to do your movie. If it's J.J. Abrams, he has his stuff together, and he can release a teaser a year before the movie comes out because he's used to doing visual effects.
Yes.
So that's the one thing I'm going to say about that. When you have a director who's used to doing visual effects, they can release a teaser a year before the movie is ready. It could be the greatest Star Wars ever, but we have to wait for a trailer as a result until April when they do Celebration.
Yeah, right.
So I'm really not happy about having to wait. I want it now, damn it. So anyway, Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, I mean we've seen it before.
Yes.
We've seen this movie already.
Yeah.
It's the same movie.
It looks exactly the same. It doesn't even look like they're taking any leeway on it at all. It's just
and that's disappointing to me. I mean, it just is.
I don't know. They just didn't want to take much of a risk with it, and they just wanted to basically make a shot-for-shot live-action version of it. That's what it seems like to me. But we'll see what happens when we go see it. We have gone super long on this. Let's take a break.
Okay, quick break.
Let's take a quick break, and then we'll get into Logan here. All right. the near future, a wary Logan cares for an ailing Professor X in a hideout on the Mexican border, but Logan's attempts to hide from the world and his legacy are upended when a young mutant arrives, being persuaded by dark forces.
Nope, he pursued, not persuaded. Oh, this was the worst read ever, and we're gonna leave it in because it's hilarious.
I'm not even gonna do it. I'm not even gonna do it again.
Whatever. It is what it is. There's the synopsis.
It's a very clunky.
This is the last Wolverine movie. Is all you need to say. It's the last one.
Yep.
Until they cast a new actor, so they have to figure that out. That's gonna take a little bit of time.
Yep.
All right.
This movie is directed by James Mangold, who also wrote Oliver and Company, directed and wrote Copland, and also directed 3:10 to Yuma. He's got quite an interesting filmography when you
I guess when you look at it that way, some of what we see makes sense.
Makes sense.
This movie.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
This movie starring, of course, Hugh Jackman as Logan. He was in Kate and Leopold, which is where he knows James Mangold, because that was his movie too.
He's in every X-Men movie ever.
Van Helsing and The Prestige. Well, obviously every X-Men.
God damn you for doing this.
Patrick Stewart as Charles, who is obviously most known for Star Trek The Next Generation. Blunt talk, and he's been doing stage forever, so he's also just that too. Daphne Keane is Laura, who hasn't been in a lot. She was in the Refugees TV show, and that's all that she's pretty much done until this. And it's kind of interesting to see her in this because she's really young. Boyd Holbrook is Pierce. He was in Milk, Walk Among the Tombstones, and Narcos. Now, this actor, for the longest, the whole time I was watching this movie, I was trying to figure out who the heck this guy was.
Because I know he looks like someone else, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't he look like another actor?
He looks like another actor, but the thing is I know I had seen him before in something. And sure enough, he's the main, he's the co-main actor in Narcos, which is one of my favorite Netflix shows that I've seen. I've blitzed through both seasons of it, and it's just I was like, why do I keep recognizing this guy? But that's what he's actually from.
Oh, okay.
Stephen Merchant as Caliban. He was he's actually worked with Ricky Gervais a lot, apparently, and he was also in the British show version of The Office. He's
very British looking.
Yes, he's very British looking.
I knew right away who this guy was, even with the makeup job and everything. He's got a very unfortunate face. I hate saying that, but it's
terrible.
It's very distinctive.
He was also in Romeo and Juliet, which is a terrible, terrible animated movie.
Oh, good.
Elizabeth Rodriguez as Gabriella. She was in Fresh, Blow, Miami Vice, and obviously she was also. Why can I not think of this show right now?
I don't know. I don't even know who this is.
Really, Gabriella? No, she's the one that gets taken out.
No, I know that. Obviously they didn't want to spend money on actual comic book characters.
Do you not watch the Netflix series? The one I'm having the hardest time remembering for some weird freaking reason.
The one you were just talking about?
No, it's the one in the prison with all the women.
Oh, Orange is the
New Black.
No,
she's also one of the. She's one of the characters in Orange is the New Black.
It's been forever on my. That's always been
You haven't seen any of Orange is the New Black? You really need to watch that.
No, that has obviously always been one that's right there. That's my next.
You gotta watch Orange is the New Black, man. It's really good. It just gets better every season. You gotta watch that. The last one I'll have up here is Richard E. Grant as Dr. Rice. He's in Bram Stoker's Dracula, Corpse Bride, and The Iron Lady. Yeah. And that's all the actors I'm going to talk about on this one, because it's actually a pretty contained story. Let's go ahead and take a quick break here, and let's get back into the courts and likes here in a minute. right, Jones, now that we blitzed through the characters, let's go ahead and get into these quirks and likes.
All right.
I enjoyed this movie quite a bit, so I don't have a lot of my stuff is kind of nitpicky. But
okay.
The first thing I want to say is it definitely seems like it's kind of long and drawn out, this movie. And I'm not sure if they have done that on purpose or not, because to give you kind of a feeling of being Logan, like it's just, it's been a long time and it's tiring. And you get that feeling through this movie.
Right.
It's not really that long, but it definitely feels that way. There's just stuff that kind of just drags on throughout this movie. Did you notice that? Did you have that same feeling?
Yes, I did. However, so I'm not you're right. Okay, so I'm not disagreeing with you there.
Yeah.
Because you would think, well, it should be more of an action flick.
Yes.
And there's it's almost like a Western in that there's a little bit more downtime in between all the action.
And I think that's done on purpose.
Right. It is. I believe it is done on purpose, so I don't have an issue with it.
Yeah.
I also, in the context of where this fits in, with the fact that this is the last movie with these actors, I think it's appropriate, and it feels like the Wolverine comic books that I grew up reading.
Yeah.
I mean, this felt very much like one of those comic books.
Okay.
So I mean, I had that under a like, even though usually with these kinds of movies, I hate that downtime.
Yeah.
I felt it was well done here.
Yeah, the thing about it is that it's kind of the reason why it's one of my quirks is because it's one of those things where you get that feeling of it being long and drawn out, but the downtime is valuable time.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like stuff does move forward and you kind of get more into these characters as you go through the story. So it works. It just feels long. And I don't know. And the thing is I really feel like they did it on purpose, but it is kind of a weird thing when you're there and it kind of just, it doesn't flow as well as you would like it to. The other issue I have with this movie, which is fairly obvious, is like, he dies and you kind of knew he was going to die. Like there was not any time period through this whole movie where I did not think he was, there's no way he was going to survive the movie. There just wasn't,
Yeah.
There was no way there's never a time period where I thought that he was going to survive this movie.
I felt like, we knew there was something wrong with him and he wasn't addressing it, but we had a character, Caliban, say, look, something's wrong with you. You can't read the labels on bottles. You're not healing right anymore.
Yep.
Wolverine, for the first time, has scars all over his body.
Yep.
So, I mean, this was part of the comic book. This was part of the old man storyline.
Old man Logan. Yeah.
Old man Logan.
Mm-hmm.
Where, his powers were fading. He was losing his healing factor. And with that came poisoning. He was getting metal poisoning, adamantium poisoning.
Yes.
So he was slowly dying, and it was probably really, really painful for a long time for him.
Yeah. And you get that in this movie. You get that feeling.
And I really felt like, too, when the adamantium bullet came back in, which was something I hated. I wanted to throw a movie chair at the screen during X-Men Origins.
Yeah, during X-Men Origins, but it comes back in this movie.
It comes back in this one, and it has a different feeling to it. It doesn't have the same feeling as it does. So I really felt at that point, it's Hugh's last movie. He cannot make it through.
Yes.
There's no way this version of Wolverine is going to make it through to the end.
Uh-huh. The other thing I had a problem with this movie is the whole time, and I guess I have assumptions here, but you don't really know for sure. But the guys that were going after him had all these enhancements. They had these like metal, including the main bad guy. They had these like metal arms and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like, they don't really explain those, and they don't really use them in any other different way than you would. the only assumption I can assume is because they're dealing with mutants, maybe they just lost limbs. But why isn't that why isn't that in like the cell phone scene where somebody just like, loses a damn limb or something, and then you're like, oh crap, maybe that's what's going on with these kids, and they're losing limbs, so they need these enhancements. But there's never a time period where there's an advantage to having them at all.
Yeah, it never gets showcased.
No, so it's like it's just an added thing. To me, it's like a special effect that was just a waste of time. It's just because it doesn't really, make any sense.
This is kind of too, I think, it's funny that you bring it up in this way, because I wasn't even going to touch on that, but I think you're right, because they don't ever showcase it as being an advantage.
Yes.
But obviously, it should be. Now, against someone like Wolverine, he's just going to cut the damn thing off and then maybe stab you anyway.
Yeah.
But, Marvel Studios, and this is different. There are two differences here. Fox has rights to the X-Men.
Yes.
And to Wolverine. And Marvel Studios has their own characters. They can't use any of the X-Men. So so their way around it was to call mutants the Enhanced.
The Enhanced.
And in this movie, we have a character for Fox Studios who actually says, you're not the only one who's been enhanced.
Yes.
And that made me wonder if when Fox decides to get into Wolverine movies again, is this going to be a partnership like with Spider-Man and Paramount?
Well, that would be
where
fantastic.
They're going to team up. Right.
That would be fantastic. And I definitely noticed that scene also. And when I heard it, it kind of angered me a little bit because it reminds me of the issues. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like the issues of like the legal problems. But you're looking at it as a much more positive light, as maybe it could be a nod to, hey,
I think that yes, I believe that line was very specifically aimed at anyone over at Disney. I think that's a very clear sign that maybe Fox is willing to make, and Fox would make more money.
Yes,
if there was a partnership, it would change everything.
Yeah, and it's something that just needs to happen, and which is what was so great about having Spider-Man in Civil War, and he really, like, even though he's not in it for very long, it adds to the movie, and it's just such a fun part of him, and so it makes the movie better. And so it's just such a crazy thing that they haven't thought of that before then. And so now, I would love to be, if that's just a nod to Disney and being like, look, we can talk about this and try to get something going. That would be fantastic. I would love that. The only other thing, that was actually all I have for my corks, but the one thing I wanted to ask you is, because I know you're a Wolverine fan, and I was just super curious, and I figured you've read Old Man Logan.
Uh-huh.
So I was curious, how accurate is this story compared to the...
I mean, it just... I don't know that it is. I mean, there was a lot I liked about it.
But did it touch on some of the other stuff and kind of veer off or anything?
Oh,
or is it just
it does, because X-23 gets introduced.
Yes,
his daughter. I mean, there are links, and I mean but I mean, this was written, and I thought this was really clever. So this was one of my likes, I guess I should say.
All right.
Here, just before I go into quirks, but
yeah,
for the first time, really, we've gotten to see comic books in a movie that has superheroes, and this is something that I've been dying to see, because it makes so much sense. And so the fact that these little kids were reading X-Men comic books while they're being experimented on,
yes,
they have this idea of Wolverine. They have this idea of a hero who's in a yellow suit,
yes,
and the adventures of the X-Men and everything.
Yeah.
And Wolverine basically says, look, this is real life. I mean, people don't get second chances, and so the movie is much more serious. But I love that. Like comic books made it in there, because essentially when this process first started with, Bryan Singer, I mean, he had to figure out a way to make these characters accessible.
Yeah.
And sometimes it worked, and sometimes it didn't, like when Brett Ratner destroyed the franchise.
Destroyed the franchise.
I mean, the thing is, there's always been a little bit more, I think at times their powers, the mutant powers, have been turned down too much.
Yeah.
I felt like the more important thing here is that this was much closer to the Wolverine and maybe even Old Man Logan. I mean, it wasn't really exactly the same thing, because I think they were trying to accomplish two different goals. Yeah. Obviously, Wolverine is one of Marvel's flagship characters.
Yes.
And he's not going to stay dead in the comic books.
No.
And hasn't. And he's not going to stay dead in the movies either, and won't. So,
yeah.
But you can't have the same actors. And we've talked about this before. Tony Stark, Wolverine, Spider-Man, and even James Bond, how you want to look at it. These are all evergreen characters. So we're going to get more movies, and there will be that debate, who was the better Wolverine? Who was the better Iron Man?
Yep. It's just, I always, when we talk about that, I always talk about how difficult it is because Hugh Jackman did such a good job with this character. And again, one of the, we might as well just start, one of the likes that I have on this one is how this is a really good send-off to Wolverine and Hugh Jackman as Wolverine.
Yes. Yes, it is. But
even just like how like Robert Downey Jr. just is Tony Stark, and so it's just there's a lot of things that's really hard to see how they could do better than what they've already done on some of these characters. Even just like Captain America, like it's just some guys are just made for the role, and it just is what it is. So it's so it's kind of one of those things, but we'll have to see in the future, because I definitely believe we'll see more of these characters as we get older. So now that we're done with my quirks or whatever, let's go ahead and get into your quirks so we can get into the likes a little bit.
I know we've kind of gone over, but I mean this is a special thing. Sorry guys, my dogs are barking and will not shut up.
That's all right.
I think the biggest issue maybe I had two big issues with this movie, and one of them I can kind of look past.
Yeah.
But there's a plot hole here where the X-23 mutants. Come on, girls, be quiet. God damn it. Unreal. Lady is just... He never makes any... She's just like howling at the door. There's a huge plot hole here, and that's the X-23 mutants were supposed to be killed. And the bad guy, Pierce, who I had an issue with because he seems cool at the beginning, but then he isn't really a dangerous enough bad guy. It's just that he has a lot of help.
Yes, he does.
Pierce is shown taking part in the euthanasia process.
Yes.
And yet, afterwards, he's trying to capture the children alive. So, the company didn't want uncontrollable children. They had the genes, and they had X-24, which I'll get into later. They had a better version of Wolverine, one they could control.
Yes.
So, if they've resurrected Weapon X and he can take commands, why are they bothering capturing these children at all?
Yeah, it doesn't.
And I mean, that's just one of those things where it's like you've said one thing, but clearly they're trying to get, they're trying to recapture these kids.
Yeah.
So that was one of those things, continuity-wise, that didn't make any sense. I think the bigger issue is, when does this movie take place?
I have no idea, because of Days of Future Past and all this other stuff that's gone on. I don't know when this movie takes place. I don't know if this movie takes place in the storyline that doesn't exist anymore. Which is what it feels like it is.
Right.
Or is it just a one-off like how comic books do and like how Old Man Logan was?
I've been seriously doing ever since finishing the movie. I've been writing to try to figure this out, because even on Reddit and I haven't liked the explanations I've been hearing.
Yeah.
The movie definitely follows X-Men Origins Wolverine,
yes.
which is a problem because that had a lot of issues. It follows the Wolverine,
yes,
which was a little bit of a better movie. I believe that it follows the timeline that doesn't exist anymore, where the mutants were given the cure. Now, they don't say that, but my feeling is that what happens is that the cure turns into a vaccination, and that newborns are given the vaccine. Yes. I think that's why there are no more young mutants.
Yes.
But that's a little tricky. Even that line of thinking doesn't really match up to what happens in Days of Future Past, or the end of the Wolverine, because at the end of the Wolverine, we have a cutscene in the airport where Charles Xavier is somehow back and he's alive.
Yes.
And that never gets explained.
No, that doesn't get explained.
Let me get into geek mode here. In Brett Rand, are you ready? Can you do geek mode and make it echo? Geek mode. So, all right. Let me get on my geeky glasses. The Brett Ratner's franchise killer, The Last Stand.
Yes.
Brett was told of a comic book storyline where he could kill off Professor Xavier and bring him back in a later movie. Of course, they took the keys away from him.
Yes.
So that didn't happen. So Charles is somehow alive at the end of the Wolverine. Well, the thing about Professor X is that when he was born, he had a twin. But because of his psychic abilities, that twin was born brain dead, but was kept alive. So when Charles dies in the comic books, he's able to transfer his consciousness into his twin's body.
Yes.
His twin was a girl, but we're just going to look past that. This gives Professor X a mulligan, and in the movie world, it would give him the ability to walk again. Because his brother's spine was fine, his brother didn't go to the land before time, or get shot by a bullet, by a deflecting bullet, which is how they explained it in the movies.
Oh,
his muscles would need some work, but you would have a Professor X who could walk again.
Yes.
So, okay, geek mode off. So there is a reason for this. So potentially this still could be after The Last Stand, because there is the possibility that Charles is in his brother's body, and that's actually why he's having the issues that he's having. That it isn't just ALS or Parkinson's or something like that. That it's because his brother was brain dead for so long, and that's why he's having these issues.
That would explain everything.
That is me having to really look at what was supposed to be and what was talked about, and really knowing this universe.
That was some impressive detective skills there,
okay, so all right. So yep, that's why you should read comic books, so that you can do a podcast years later. Try to explain why stuff isn't making sense.
Exactly.
I thought that Wolverine's death, this is my last thing, I thought it was a bit underwhelming. However, I felt like he earned everything. I felt like Hugh Jackman, his performance, I felt like the character and the way that the events went, I felt like he earned that chance to rest. He earned that chance to be buried.
Yes.
I just felt like the actual death was underwhelming. Like, I don't see him getting thrown into a tree and dying from that.
And then just dying from that.
So, okay. I was a little disappointed there. Yeah. And really with Charles Xavier, this is the last two times we're going to see these actors in an X-Men movie. I mean, we've been there before. We've had a scene like that where Wolverine tries to, he accepts, the kindness from strangers, and you're like, I leaned back in my chair and I was like, not this again. He's going to get these people killed. And what I hated about that is it made me really not like Charles Xavier anymore. Because he essentially signed that family's death warrant.
Yeah, it is a terrible scene in the movie to where it's just like, they're being chased.
Right.
Like even Wolverine says, we can't stay here. We have to go. And he keeps giving in to Xavier through this whole movie, and it gets a family killed in this instance. And so it's just such a negative scene in the entire movie. Yeah. It's like really, really bad part of this movie. You're just like, wow, I cannot believe that this just happened, and just like everybody is killed. It's just so crazy.
Did it need to be in there? I mean,
I don't know, and I just want to go ahead and make another random comment. Did they find the only black family on a freaking farm to take?
That's unfortunate too. They added some diversity to the movie, and none of them survived. Oh, damn it. What is it about killing off black people? I just don't get it, Hollywood. So, okay, that's it as far as quirks. I think that's a good one. That's a really quirky one to leave off on.
All right, so let's get into the likes. The first thing I want to say, because it was the first thing that shows up in the movie before the movie, is the Deadpool intro.
Ah, yes.
Right? Wasn't that just a fun little...
It is. And Nathan Summers, they're going to pay for a mutant we've been longing to see. Yep. We've needed to see Cable.
Yep, we need to see Cable, so it'll be...
We need to see him.
It'll be fun to watch. I just wanted to make a comment on that one.
Yeah.
The other thing I really enjoyed about this movie is I really enjoy this different tone through this whole movie. Like, you definitely get the feeling of old man Logan. Like, he's just a grumpy old man this whole time, and you can just, he's got this really hard life that he's had, and he's kind of just done with it, and he's in pain, he's sick all the time, he's having to deal with things he's never had to deal with before, because he's always healed, and his healing factor is just, like, not as effective as it was, and so the whole time he's just seems so freaking, like, just downtrodden the whole time. And I just really love that feeling through this whole movie. The other thing I really liked about this movie was I really enjoyed the scene where he takes that entire bottle of medicine and you get to see Wolverine one last time. You know what I mean? So, like, he's old man Logan now, and this goes along with what we were saying earlier, how this is just such a great send-off for Wolverine and for Hugh Jackman playing him. And so, like, you still got the really ferocious Wolverine for just a little while, where he had his healing factor up and he was just taking things out, and then it wears off. And it's just like such a great scene, and I just really enjoyed that. It's like everything about this movie is just, you can tell it's a send off, and it's a really good one. Even just with how good all the acting is. Like, Hugh Jackman has done more acting in this movie as Wolverine than he's done in any other movie for as Wolverine. Like, he's got all these different emotions that he's going through, and it's just such a great thing. Even just with, Charles Xavier, all that, like, him just being a little senile, and just even the acting's just good in this movie. And so I just, my biggest advantage to this movie, the thing I love so much, is how much of a great send off it is for this character, and for for the actors playing these characters. So it's just great, and I thoroughly enjoyed every little bit about this movie for that instance. The only other little offhanded thing I like is I enjoy all the other references to the previous movies. Like, I liked seeing the katana. You got a little shot that the katana is laying by his bed kind of thing. Right. And even though it's kind of crazy, but I really enjoy how we talked earlier about how the adamantium bullet comes back. But but even though, like, previously it's such a terrible thing, like, it's just an awful aspect to that movie. But in this one, it has, like you said, it has a different feel to it. And it's almost doing a little Days of Future Past it's kind of erasing that old one by making this bad aspect such a positive one in this one, to where it just has this it takes on this different tone than the other one. And again, this just is another thing that leads off to how much this is a great send-off for these characters. I mean, it really is like a homage to these characters and these actors playing them. That's all the likes I have.
Yeah, I think the movie got it right, and I think it's a shame they had to make a lot of mistakes early on. I'd say the studio.
Yeah.
But I feel like they've got the right filmmaker. They've got the right writers to be able to go on and do other movies and maybe do some standalone movies.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I completely agree with you. Personally, I thought, and I'm having a hard time making up my mind here, but this is one of the better X-Men movies, period, and it might be it's either the first or the second. I can't decide.
Yeah.
I really like Days of Future Past.
Days of Future Past is really good.
So, but this is, and they're that's the totally different movies.
Yeah, and that's the argument we're having, though, is Days of Future Past and this movie.
The only thing I think that maybe would have maybe given this an edge, and I don't know that it was needed, but had X-24 been someone else, had they been able to bring back in Sabretooth, or maybe
that would have been
Omega
very interesting.
Red or something. I mean, maybe it changes. Maybe it gives it the edge. I mean, I think budget-wise, there's a big difference.
Yes, there is.
Between both of those movies.
Oh, yeah.
So, it's tough to really say, but I think as far as getting like the essence of the comic book and everything, and having a movie that really feels like, a complete storyline. I mean, this was a really good one to end on.
Oh yeah, really good.
So some of the stuff we've already talked about. Comic books. I really liked that they used the term enhanced.
Yeah.
Because that gives me some hope for the future.
All right.
The entire story was constructed in a really interesting way, and I mean it's got a lot of references to movies like Shane, and in fact it even it goes ahead and shows you the ending to the movie Shane.
Yes.
But it's got that feel for Logan and for Wolverine. But the story, to me, it's really clever because they peel away little sections at a time. I mean, you know that a lot of bad stuff has happened, but you get just enough. You're shown just enough to where it pulls you forward.
Yes.
And so it's really, the fact that something bad happened with Charles and mutants died, and that Wolverine's been trying to protect him. Wolverine's been really dying this entire time, and that the whole boat thing was probably it for him and Charles, and maybe even for the mutants.
Yeah, they were going to take a boat out and finish it out,
and that was it. Yeah. They would only have a few days, So I thought it was really great all the way around. As far as X-23 goes, I felt like they did a very good job handling her. Yeah,
I even liked her, like Daphne Cade's performance of her too.
Yeah. X-23 is feral and doesn't have any social skills.
Yep.
And I think they did a really good job of showing that. I was very shocked. However, when they had her speak, I kind of felt like they might have her speak at some point.
Yes, I felt that too.
But I mean, that's really not. I mean, that's something she has to work on. It takes a while.
Yeah.
To get her there in the comic books. So I felt like, well, this is a character, I mean, I would watch easily in a standalone movie.
Oh, yeah, I would too.
X-23. So, it's kind of interesting because this takes place in 2024, I think, or 2025.
Something like that.
It's really not that far away from 2099, which is very potentially really exciting.
I love how
an X-Men 2099 movie. It's entirely X-23 would still look like she was in her 20s probably.
Oh yeah.
So it's little stuff like that to where I'm like, it's like there's a future here. There's more. There wasn't claws popping out at the end of the gravesite or anything. They just were really respectful about that final scene. But you just want to see the character again. You want to see X-23 again. You want to see what they're going to do with Wolverine moving forward once they sign a new actor. So
it'll be interesting.
Yeah. All right. I think I've covered everything that I wanted to say, buddy.
All right, so let's go ahead and rate it. I think it's just way better than the other Wolverine movies, and it's, like you said, it is probably at least the first or second best X-Men movie that we've seen ever. And so I'm going to say, see it, buy it. I really enjoyed this movie a lot. And I think it's a perfect send-off to this character. And I really enjoy it.
All right. I, too, will give it a see it, buy it. I thoroughly enjoyed this. This is coming from a very outspoken critic of X-Men and Wolverine movies. Even when Bryan Singer came back, I was like, blah, 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 blah. I was like, but none of you remember this and that? Yeah. And, why can't they give Rogue her powers? Damn it, I don't care if someone else owns Miss. I don't care if someone else owns Miss Marvel. Get it done. It's so stupid.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right, man. Let's go ahead and sign out. This is a long one. If anybody wants to contact us, we always have our home on the web, halfpasspodcast.com.
Like us on Facebook.
Rate us on iTunes, and we're on Google Play.
We're on Stitcher and Libsyn.
Email us at halfpastcast@gmail.com. That's halfpastcast@gmail.com.
Tweet us at halfpastpodcast.
Thank you for listening, and thank you for your support. Next week, we will go ahead and do that Kong Skull Island movie, which should be a fun one to kind of talk about, I'm sure. And
yes,
the only thing...
I'm sorry, this is going to get crazy here. I'm wondering if we're going to see Kong's dong.
What?
They had that discussion in a production meting.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they've had that production meeting. Well, at least the one thing that I want out of the Kong movie I know is in it because it's at the end of the trailer, and that's the beating of the chest. And that's really all that matters, right? You got Kong, and that's it. That's all I ever wanted from my Kong movies.
That's what I do every morning anyway, so yeah, we'll see that too.
All right. This is the Half Past Podcast. I'm Graham Ricks.
Jonesy.
See you next flick.